Sit back and relax while I listen to Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Stan and Steve, we're going to take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On tonight's episode, we're doing more 40k, so actually, I'm not really sure what Steve's doing tonight. We didn't necessarily hear back from him, but I know he's still adjusting to his job. Like I said, he hasn't really gotten through the new edition of 40k, so we're kind of doing this without him, which it kind of makes sense. What we did last time is we were going through the Custodes, and we went through all the range that they had in standard GW and plastic and all of that. So our goal tonight is now to go through the units that they got from Forgeworld. So various factions got things from their old Imperial armor books and all of those. That's where these units are mostly coming from, or there might be some other just base Forgeworld models from other causes. So that's our goal of what we're going to do tonight. And now, on to the show. All right, it is Monday. What are you having for dinner?
What do we have? Chipotle. I know it's late as hell.
It's only 8:30. I mean, I just got done dinner. I made dinner at like 8, and I don't think my wife even had dinner yet. She had a bunch of leftover. No, she did. I forgot about that. Oh, we were doing like leftover stuff because we forgot to take shrimp out of the freezer again. We've forgotten for the last week. I want to say roughly the last week. If you're off to that end, I will push this a little bit.
But yeah, no, it's just I haven't eaten in quite some time, so this is kind of like my late dinner.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Again, it's not really that late. It depends. Like, I mean, growing up, I always had dinner at like 6 o'clock. That was like what the family did. But now as an adult, no, we tend to eat usually pretty late, actually.
Yeah.
But, all right. This one should probably be a bit shorter than some of the others because we don't have as many things. So that should make
it's much smaller.
Yes. Well, honestly, I was surprised at how far we made it into Custodes last time because I didn't think we were going to make it nearly that far. And just through the discussions we did.
Their unit profiles aren't that much different.
Yeah.
What they do different are their abilities.
Yeah. So it did make it a little bit faster to get through. And faction-wise, they're one that's a little bit on the smaller side compared to some of the other ones, especially compared to the ones we've done so far and the ones that we've avoided doing so far, like Space Marines. Easiest will be Votan whenever we can get to that. We'll see all the rest of these. But, all right. So, for this, if this is the first one that you've watched or listened to on Podcatcher, obviously, if you're in a spot where you can safely follow along, feel free. Otherwise, if you're watching this on YouTube, we do display the profiles and everything like that up. So we have this stuff so everyone can know exactly what we're talking about. Makes it a little easier. We display it up when it's freely available. If it's not, GW hasn't given us an okay on any of that, so we just can't do it. If they ever respond back to my emails, maybe. Also, like I said, if anyone knows the right way to contact them, let me know. Because I've tried. I haven't heard anything back yet. But, we'll see. If you're in the middle of eating, maybe I'll start then. Because you are.
Start with the Custodian. This one is kind of easy anyway.
Yes. So, for this, they got themselves some Forgeworld weapons on these guards. They do change the points a bit. So, they have an Adrasite and Parithic. Is that how you've been saying it? Pyrrhithite? Okay, sorry. Pyrrhithite spears. In particular for these guys, it's a 5-pack for, I think it was like 325. Yeah, you must take them as a 5-pack for 325. For comparison purposes, a 5-pack of the normal Custodian Guards, where you can essentially take spears or axes and all of that, were 225 for 5. So it's about 100 points extra for 5 of these guys, and you can't vary the sizes like you could before. When we take a look at their profile, all base Custode models have the same exact profile. The move 6, the toughness 6, the 2 up, 4 up, 3 wounds, the leadership 6, 2 objective points. When you start getting determined armor, you change a little bit. When you go on a bike, you change a little bit. Otherwise, that's your base profile. They all, of course, have their faction rule. We're not going to bother discussing that. Everything in the army has deep strike, if it would make sense. Some of the vehicles, I'm sure, don't. But other than that, you're good on everything. Like the Land Raider probably doesn't.
I think
it's not a Blood Angels Land Raider. This is in 6th edition.
Now you're making me want to pull this up because I think it does.
Yeah, pull it up. Check.
Yeah, hold on. Wait, oh yeah, that's right. They put it with the guy with the axe there.
Yeah.
I think the Land Raiders at the very end. Yes,
Land Raider's the very last entry. That much I know.
41. No, it doesn't have deep strike.
Good. And Blood Angels. For anyone who doesn't know, back in, I want to say 6, maybe it was 5th edition, the Blood Angels could actually make their Land Raiders deep strike. So they have the same stand vigil rule that the normal block has. It's that when you make an attack, you reroll wound wounds over 1. And when you are within range of an objective marker you control, you just reroll the wound. The second ability is where it differs. So the second ability here is no foe shall stand. Once per battle, at the start of your shooting phase, this unit can use this ability. If it does, the ranged weapons have lethal hits and ignores cover. As a comparison, the ability the normal Custodes has was just that once per battle, when they're done shooting, they can shoot again. So that was the base ability they had there.
Yeah.
These guys, they come with... Where is it? There. Start with the Adrasite Spear. You can replace anyone with a Parathic Spear if you want. And if someone can lead Custodian Guard, they're allowed to lead these Custodian Guard. For their weapons, we'll go through the Spear first. All their weapons have a ranged and melee profile because it's a giant thing with a gun in it. The Adrasite Spear, it's 18-inch range. One attack, they obviously are going to hit and wound it. Hit and range, close combat, all that stuff on twos. Not going to bother saying any of that anymore. Strength 5 AP -2, flat 3 damage. So good Terminator killer. Stronger than the other weapon base because the other weapons were usually 2 to sometimes 1 damage in range. In melee, 5 attacks. Either weapon is going to be 5 attacks. Both are strength 7, both AP -2, both 2 damage. So there's no difference in the melee profiles. It's all in the range profiles. So the range profile for the Parathic Spear, it's a melta 2, so it's a melta gun. A 12-inch range, strength 9, AP -4, D6, or D6 plus 2 if you're in half. So again, this is their melta gun. For what we've seen, they have simultaneously a lot of special weapons, quote unquote, but not a lot of special weapons. What we think of as the special weapons that armies would be carrying.
Yes,
this is one of their basic ones then. I know you take at least one of these squads because I know, or at least in 30K, I know you do. I don't know if you do it in 40K.
30K, I do. In 40K, they're just too expensive.
The extra 100's a lot.
Yeah.
I think they're doing that because they're just making the flat assumption that you're bringing 5 melta guns, and that's a tax.
True, but even 5 melta guns were what, 10 points a pop in the last, or
I don't remember.
Pardon me. I think they were 10 or 15 points. So 100 points. That's a lot. Although they are hitting on 2s. And you can deep strike them.
Yeah.
Oh, and they reroll what? You know what I keep forgetting about these guys? And also my Custodian Guard. I keep thinking that I have. Yep. I keep thinking I have to be an objective to reroll ones, and then if I control it, it's reroll everything. I keep forgetting that no, it's just you reroll ones. Period.
Yes.
I always forget that.
Yeah, which is big because there's a decent amount of targets if you're going at a normal Space Marine. Like I say, if you ever use that gun to hunt down Terminators, you're wounding on 2. So essentially, you are going to wound. 1 in 36, you don't otherwise.
Yeah.
Foe shall stand is good, being able to give them lethal hits, ignores cover. Ignores cover helps a bit. The lethal hits helps a little bit. Neither of those
one
rules,
shot.
Yeah, that's the problem. You're a 5-man unit. Neither of those rules thrill me so much. I like them. They're good rules. I will say, as someone who, in my most recent game, I was playing against Guard, and my Locust Heavy Destroyers have lethal hits. Moved a knight moved towards me, and I said, okay, I got 2 Locust Heavy Destroyers. If I happen to roll that 6, it's lethal hit. Let me go this.
Yep.
Get it. Missed the save. Took it out. So, it's good. But on a 5-man unit for the extra 100 points, I don't know if it gets me that much extra.
If they were... Normal Guard unit is 225, right?
Yes, they're exactly 100 points cheaper.
Yeah. If they were 250, 260, I could see that. I'd even say 270. But a full 100, a full 100, that's an entire Blade champion. That's literally an entire Blade champion.
Because the Strength 9 is nice, but it's not so high compared to a lot of their other things. If your melee is like Strength 7, I don't think going to Strength 9 is making the world's greatest difference.
No.
Because then you're still hitting Toughness 13 and below the same way. Yeah, it's the D6 damage, the melt, you can get the extra, great AP, but I don't know if you're gaining as much, whereas you could save a few of these couple 100 points instead of taking this. You could take some of the vehicles that really can pump out some anti-tank for you instead.
Yeah. They just need a points reduction. They're a really good unit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not insulting the unit.
Yeah.
They just need a points reduction.
True. Although I will say, I always like that they err on when they do, to err on the side of Forgeworld stuff being more than less.
Yes,
because
I agree.
they tend to look at it a little bit less. It tends to be a little bit more crazy. And also, it's harder to get your hands on a lot of times, Forgeworld stuff. So if it was like, oh man, this stuff is great. Oh, it's sold out for like the last 6 months, or I missed it the little bit they put it up. That's not a feel.
No one wants the Thud Guns of 7th edition. The Thud Gun or was it 6th or 5th edition? I can't. It was
6 had a big thing with Thud Guns.
Yeah,
5th I think did too. Thud Guns were around for a while.
Completely overpowered, and that's what people had this aversion to Forgeworld. That's what actually created it.
What really created it was you could take your Thud Guns and you could take a Sky Shield landing pad, and you could put your guns underneath it. And due to the way that, I think it was underneath. Due to the way that rules worked, you couldn't hit them with blast because it hits top level, and there was issues with charging them because of the scenery piece and things like that. There were some other rules, I don't quite remember the details, but I know like if you position it right, they're just hanging out the whole game. You can't stop them.
It's almost like people who broke the damn thing.
Yeah, well, to some extent, GW broke it a little bit when they made it.
Yeah,
but no game is perfectly balanced. I'm never looking for perfect. No. All right, why don't you go through the Sagittarum? Now, there's not pictures for these guys.
Oh, yeah. It's weird, too, because Forgeworld actually has some really damn good pictures of
They
these
don't
guys.
put any of the Forgeworld pictures on for any of their stuff. I don't know why.
So weird.
There are 5 models for $250.
Mm-hmm. So for those who don't know what Sagittarum are basically guard with heavy bolters, essentially is what it is. Okay. And I'm going to kind of spoil this a little bit. These were big in the last 2 editions. This edition, not so much. So, normal guard stat line.
Yeah.
So, movement 6, toughness 6, 2 up save, 3 wounds, 6 up leadership, 2 and a 4 up invul, and 2 OC. The saturation volley. So, in the shooting phase, after this unit has shot, select one enemy unit, hit by excluding monsters or vehicles, hit by 1 or more attacks until the start of your next turn. While that unit is on the battlefield, that unit is suppressed. When the unit is suppressed, each time a model makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So, a long-winded way of saying, if you shoot anything that's not a monster or vehicle and you hit them, that unit you select 1, and that unit basically gets -1 to hit in shooting and in combat.
Yeah. Just careful with slurping your soda.
Oh, yeah. I realized how loud it was.
Yeah.
Disintegration beams. This is once per battle at the start of your shooting phase. This unit can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the phase, range weapons have the devastating wounds ability. Very nice. This is where they kind of got, in my opinion. Is it
because their close combat is
No.
lackluster?
So ironically, their close combat has always been misericordious. So I'll actually go over. Their close combat has always been the daggers, which have always been strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage. So they're shanking you with 4 attacks, essentially. That's never been the problem, because a group of 5 of them actually put out 20 attacks at AP 2, 1 damage. It's still scary.
Yeah.
Their guns. So their guns, I don't know if you could pull up the picture, you know the picture, is a double-barreled gun. They have a gun on the top, and they have a disintegrator on the bottom. The disintegrator used to be a combination weapon, right? And you could shoot both of them. It was a heavy bolter and then like a one-shot. It was basically the Adrasite. Actually, fun fact, it was exactly what the Adrasite was in the previous entry, right? But
I don't have Forgeworld open already.
If you look at it, you'll notice it looks like a rectangle at the bottom, and then there's the barrel for the heavy bolter, essentially. Mm-hmm. In previous editions, it's always had 2 profiles that you can shoot both of, right? It always was the Adrasite profile, which is the weapon profile above, strength 5, AP -2, 3 damage. And it had the heavy bolter profile, which is, in this case, just to give you guys an idea, the bolt caliber sustained 1, 36 inches, 3 attacks, hits on 2, strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage. Exactly a heavy bolter. For the sake of simplicity, I'm assuming simplicity, they removed the shot that the disintegrator did, and they pretty much turned it into the devastating wounds ability of the once per battle. I'm partial to this. I understand why they did it for the sake of simplicity. I understand that every custodian has 2 abilities, right? That's like their special thing in the army. Mm. For 250 points, just basically having a souped up heavy bolter squad, you're not really. AP 1, 2 damage, 3 shots is great. Sustained hits 1 is great, but it's 250. Now I will say I do want to bring them. I haven't used them yet. I'm still going to bring them. because 250 is still enough for me to kind of contemplate bringing them or not. And I've seen some lists do well with 5 Sagittarum Guard because handing out -1 to hit is excellent. Some tanks hit on 4s. Now they're hitting on 5s. Screw you, 250 is just too much, in my opinion. I think they erred on the side of pointing these a little higher.
Yeah.
I think 240, 230 might have been just a little higher than Guard, but not too much. But that being said, because you don't have melee weapons. That being said, I'd still take them. 250 for 5.
Well, I mean, you still also at least have a very survivable profile base.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
to objective points, so your squad here is going to be able to grab objectives, and they can put out 36-inch range. For what we've seen, this is actually some of the best range / potential damage because just the number of attacks and all of that. Having sustained hits once per game, getting devastating wounds, you actually can get decent numbers out of them. But I haven't done enough look over of costs of everything. A lot of stuff that feels like it's decent in a lot of these armies is costly.
Yeah.
But you're definitely paying with these guys. You're also paying for profile, and they have a very strong profile. So
good backline holders because they do have 2 OC, and they're not bad line. So they're 2 OC, not bad line. Very good profile. Oh, sad moment.
Yeah.
Because they're not bad line, a lot of people were predicting that a lot of people were predicting that these would be battle line because they've been battle line, or they've been troops, I should say. 8th, 30K, and 9th edition, right? They've always been troops in battle line. They're not battle line this edition, which kind of sucks because people were predicting that you could put Kyria, the Inquisitor with the dragon.
I don't know.
Kyria? There's an Inquisitor with like a dragon shoulder. Like she's got like a weird Xenos creature. Anyway, she basically prevents someone from being shot outside of 18 inches, right?
Okay.
And she could be put in battle line units. So people are like, oh, you could put her in a Sagittarum unit. She's only like 60, 70 points. That's a good, now we're talking, okay, that's a tax of 60, 70 points, but now here's a good backline unit that can't be shot, But they're not battle line, so it's all for naught.
All right.
But they're good. I just wish they were a little cheaper. 250 that's a hefty block. That's what, 1/8 of your points right there?
Yeah. Although, when you talk about these guys, for 5 models, your Custodian Guard are only 25 points cheaper. They're roughly right on par with the cost.
True, but that's an enhancement, and our enhancements are wonderful.
Yeah. But I mean, I'll put it this way. I don't know if the cost is really that bad just when we consider it to some of these other units because they're all right around the same sort of cost.
Yeah.
They're all reasonably expensive, so...
They do look cool, by the way. I do love the fact, so if you don't know how to build Sagittarum Guard, they're the normal guard with Forgeworld bits.
Yeah, I flashed up when I was watching. I flashed up the bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is just some bits. It's some different heads and hands attached to guns. And looks like some pieces on the arms.
The heads. It's the head, 2 arms, and the gun.
Yeah.
But like I said, they didn't get a glow up this edition. They were pretty great. I mean, they were also spammed too much in 8th and 9th edition, which is probably why this happened. Because they were as expensive as the guards. They were essentially 225. And then you would just take them instead. But you know what? Like I said, they're not bad. They're in an okay position. Sadly, the next profile though, the next profile hurts me on the kind of hurts.
Well, like we said, it's better that they're a little bit worse than the other way around. So we'll take a look at this. So
the next one hurts me for a very spicy
Dan will
reason.
mute himself as he eats. That way we don't hear it because we've been hearing it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Absolutely, and I can't cut it in this. Where is Aquil? Yeah, okay, there it is. Aquilon's. I didn't actually just put the custodian part attached to it. On some of these, I stopped saying the word custodian because, like, yeah, of course it is. For these guys, it's 3 for 230 or 6 of them for 460. So very expensive. You're looking at, oh god, what are these guys? They're not quite 80. They're like 70 some points a guy. So you're looking at quite a bit. These have the Terminator style stat line. So they're getting the extra wound and they got the extra toughness. Also 1 slower. Otherwise, they sit very much the same. They're heavy assault infantry. Surprise, surprise. Each time model's unit makes a ranged attack that targets the closest eligible target, you reroll wound rolls of 1. So as long as you're shooting at the closest. close, and notice it does say closest eligible. So if you can't see them, they're not eligible. So you can tailor your line of sight a little bit to help out. They have the From Golden Light. Once per bout, at the end of your opponent's turn, if it's not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can remove them, put them in strategic reserves. That's the same thing the Alaris have, yes?
Actually, fun fact, I think, let me check real quick because there was a big debate because it says people are saying you can do the Alaris thing on turn 1 because it doesn't say strategic reserve, but I think, yep, it's not the same thing. So here's the fun part.
Yeah, I just pulled up theirs.
Yep. What at the end of the you can remove it from the battlefield in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase. Set it up anywhere on the battlefield. So most tournaments and most people are arguing that because it doesn't say put it back in reinforcements, right, or put it back in reserve, you can do this on turn 1. I err on the side of no.
Yeah, I would just say
the
no.
developer's commentary, but there is a very good argument to say on turn 1. I disagree, but this one is worded correctly. This is how it should have been worded, in my opinion.
Yeah, because the other part is there. It says you're in strategic reserves. When you come out of that, that sets up automatically your distances and all that sort of stuff. That's why the other one I think has to specify distances. But no, I would absolutely say don't do it turn 1. If GW ever puts out something that says you can, sure. But right now, their commentary has pretty much said, like, no, we don't want you doing this. So I 100% believe that is no way the intention. No matter what they end up saying. Compared to the other Laris, they were 3 miles for 195. So these guys are about 35 points more expensive. For weapons, so they come base with a Lastrum Stormbolter, a Solarite Power Gauntlet, and any number of the models can remove their Stormbolter to take either Infernus Firepike or the Twin Adrasite Destructor, and any of them can replace their Solarite Power Gauntlet for a Solarite Power Talon. We'll go through the melee first, just why not. So you're choosing either melee weapon. It has nothing to do with the other, what's in his other hand. It's Gauntlet, then Talon. It's either 5 attacks or 7, Strength 8 or 7. Both are AP -2, 2 damage, or 1. So you either get 2 extra attacks at 1 less strength, but 1 damage, or base 2 damage. I prefer the base 2 damage.
So salt damage time. So this is the saltiest of Dan's.
All right.
The Solarite Power Talon used to be strength 10. There's no reason why it should be strength 8. I feel like this is a big misprint. The reason it was strength 10 was because Custodians were strength 5, and the Power Gauntlet was strength times 2.
Yeah.
So strength 10. Why this is strength 8 is completely beyond me. It's basically a power fist.
Well, yes. So I think this is where we can get a potential, assuming this was intended.
Yeah.
It could be a potential break from the way they do things of rather than just, hey, here's the rule we usually use, you have it. They might have just said, hey, they got a lot of this high strength stuff. Their base strength melee is like 6 to 7 and stuff. Okay, we're just going to follow that profile rather than giving them the large option. That would be my guess.
So that's just my salt. Because again,
yes,
because as it is strength 8, and they're very expensive for Terminators, but strength 8 damage, just take spears. I wound Space Marines on 2s or 3s. It doesn't matter. And everything else that I need to hit is on 5s. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's one of those, I remember when I read these rules, and I kind of skipped over the Power Gauntlet because I thought it would be strength 10 because that's what it's been for 8th edition, 9th edition, 30K first, 30K second. It's been that way for 4 editions.
Yeah.
For 2 editions of 30K. So the fact that it's strength 8 just kind of threw me for an absolute loop on that one.
I still like the Gauntlet over the Talon, though, in some ways, because I do enjoy being a damage 2 profile.
Oh,
if you're a giant heavy Terminator, I'm throwing you probably at heavier things that are going to have 2 wounds or more. You know, the only reason I'm hitting 1 wound items is because you charged me. Usually. I mean, obviously, there's some crazy 1 wound stuff out there.
I still like the Power Gauntlet. This is more of just, it's less balance and like more, how do I explain this? It's less a balance issue.
It annoys you because of what you want it to be, and it's not. It's breaking a base rule concept in your mind. Yes. That a power fist style weapon should be double your strength.
Yep.
And which strength is no longer a base profile anyone has.
Exactly. So. Exactly.
For ranged weapons, so you get to pick any of these that you like. The Fire Pike, it ignores cover in his torrent with 12-inch range, D6 shots, strength 6, AP -1/1 damage. The Lastrum Storm Bolter, which is what they start with, Rapid Fire 2. So it's 2 attacks, but if you get within half range of 12 inches, full range 24, you'll get 4 shots. Strength 5, AP -1/1. Or the Twin Adrasite Destructor, which is twin linked, so that's rerolling wounds. Range 18, it's only 1 shot, but strength 6, AP -2, 3 damage. These guys are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's their problem.
Yeah, if I'm taking either of the first 2 weapons, the Stormbolter or the Fire Pike, I think I want the Talon then, because I'm just trying to do base pure numbers. I'm going to shred all of your light stuff instead. I don't know if I want my heavy units going for light things. But if I'm taking like the Solarite Gauntlet, I probably want the Twin Adrasite Destructor because I'm wanting to hunt heavier stuff.
Yes.
I think.
I think the problem is they're too expensive. And that you hit the nail on the head with that. They're way too expensive. You compare these to Alaris Terminators, right? Let's compare these to Alaris, because that's what they are. These are thicker Alaris. First of all, they're on a 50 mil base.
Okay.
That already is a problem because it sounds like not much. It's only 10 millimeters. But that 10 millimeters actually does affect gameplay. If you're trying to deep strike these guys in the back line, those 50 mil bases actually add up. And I think the Min is a 3-man unit, not a 2-man unit for these.
Yeah, 3 or 6.
So it's not even a 2-man unit. You have to take 3. So that's a big-ass area.
Mm.
All right? That's problem number 1. Problem 2 is that they're very expensive for what they do. Compare these to Alaris. Alaris get to reroll wounds against leaders, right? Against character units. That's their big thing, right? And it's reroll straight wounds. So your spear, your range attacks, and your shoot attacks. That's great. That's amazing, right? These guys reroll 1s on the closest. Not the same level of, sure, they get to reroll 1s on anything that's closest, right? But reroll all wounds on character units is such a strong kind of.
But it's
comparison.
even more than that. It's character, monster, or vehicle for Alaris.
I was ignoring the monster. Oh, I forgot about the monster and vehicle in my game against Tiger.
Well, yeah, because then when you look at these guys, the Alaris fit their purpose rather well. Because I'm hunting maybe your characters, or because they don't necessarily have like precision and all base. Then I'm going after your monsters and vehicles, and I'm getting some rerolls. So I'm fitting my purpose.
The fluff for these guys are that they're literally the line breakers. These are the guys that are in Zone Mortalis. These are the guys that board Space Hulks. These are the thick boys, right?
Yeah.
And I look at this profile, and I look at the points cost, and I'm expecting something. And they're just too expensive for like what they do. And it sucks. It does. Because I don't know how to change them. I don't want to make them cheaper either. Because making them cheaper just kind of, I don't know. I always hate kind of making things cheaper. I always like changing some rules around, but I guess cheaper would be simpler.
Well, changing points is always easier because when you change a rule, you could misbalance stronger one way or the other.
Exactly.
I think the problem they have when you compare it to Alaris, which makes the most sense to compare it to because they're in the same army and they're roughly the same points. They're not exactly, but they're roughly. So, if you were going to take Alaris, this might be the equivalent you would take. The Alaris feel like you have a nice defined role. Not they can't do other stuff, but okay, monsters, vehicles, or maybe you're trying to sweep down some characters. These guys, when I look at it, I don't get that feeling of the nice defined role. Mm-hmm. They're, okay, shooting whatever's closest, but that might not be what's a good target related to their weapons. They feel a little bit harder to pin down, and their abilities don't quite give them what I want.
No, and the From Golden Light is very powerful.
Yes.
And I mean, sure, they're on 50 mil basis, so it's a lot harder, but excellent ability. I've used that ability so much. That's actually what pretty much has won me games. I was talking about this with one of my buddies who does a lot of tournaments. And actually on the Discord, on the Custodes Discord, I was talking about this because they were questioning why I take 3 units of 2. And it's literally because, I mean, sure, I use them to shoot and charge. But honestly, I use them to take secondaries. And I checked like my app, because, the app breaks it down. It's literally, they've gotten like 30 to 40 points of just straight secondaries, just them. So I look at these guys as like the same way I look at my Alaris. Secondary first and then killer second, right?
Yes.
And so if I'm looking at these guys as secondaries first, and I see that you can take 3 minimum and a 50 mil base, they're not scoring secondaries for me. They're too big. Okay, so let's flip it. Maybe they're killers first. But then you look at the profile and they're just like, eh.
Yeah. because two units of two Alaris is only 30 more points than one unit of a 3-pack of these guys, which means if your goal is secondaries, I could have 2 secondary units instead of 1.
Yep.
And an army where you have few models, because of price, the extra matters.
If they make them, how much are they again? You said 2 something?
230.
And 3 Alaris are 195.
I don't think you should necessarily. I'm not sure if cheaper is the better option. I don't know what you do.
I don't think cheaper is the better option either. I think, honestly, heavy assault infantry, just reroll wounds on the closest target. Instead of reroll wounds of 1. See, if it's all reroll, because the Alaris have the reroll all wounds on characters, monsters, vehicles, change heavy assault infantry to reroll all wounds on the closest eligible target. See, now we're talking, because now it's not range attack, now it's range and shooting, right? They're going to be wanting to go against the closest target, so that's very much a line breaker thing. And now with their guns and their weapons, now I'm feeling like I
wouldn't put it to their melee. No, not a chance to their melee. Put it in range only.
Okay.
They don't need it.
The only reason I say melee is because I was copying.
That's way too much.
I was copying the Alaris. That's
why.
But
I think that's giving them too much of that.
Okay, reroll ones. all right, that's fine. But that's all I'm saying. It's just there's something missing here, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's see what they come up. All right.
They do look cool though. These are probably. Let me see. Hold on. Get the zoom open so you can see. Probably my favorite models. Because let me not knock over my Chipotle here. There we go. I don't know if you can. There. You can see them in the back. I own, I think 18 of them. 18 of them. I have 6 Adrasite and Fist because I don't like the claws. The problem is in Forgeworld, the claws are super skinny, so they snap immediately. So it's a Fist. So I have 6 with Bolter Fist, 6 with Adrasite Fist, and then because of 30K, I have 6 with a Fist and Claw, which is a really cool combo.
Got it. Yeah.
Sadly, didn't come to 40K.
That's these guys. All right. That puts you to a Dred.
This, probably one of the coolest Contemptor Dreadnoughts. This one and the next one, the coolest models Forgeworld makes for Contemptors. I know they make a lot of heresy ones, but this, for those who don't know, these and this might be my bias.
It is.
These guys, no, come on, Dave, look at them. Look at the Galatus and the Achilles. Look at how. Although I think they posed them wrong, not wrong, but like, Forgeworld has that weird thing where they don't really take good pictures and will pose them correctly. And I'm curious whether or not they pose these guys nicely. I'm going to probably assume no.
They're fine, honestly.
The Galatus could have been more mobile. The Achilles is fine.
So it's 155 points for this guy.
So cheaper than the Contemptor that stands back up, actually.
Yes. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but he's so much better. Oh my God, he's so good. So, movement 6, toughness 9, 2 up save, 5 up invulnerable, so normal Contemptor, 10 wounds, 6 leadership, OC 3. So basically a Contemptor stat line. Deadly demise 1, so he blows up. Dread foe. Each time this model is selected to fight, you can select one enemy unit with engagement range of it and roll 1d6, adding 2 to the result if it made a charge on this turn. On a 4 to 5, it suffers D3. The enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, they suffer 3. So basically, every time you fight, you have 50-50 shot. Well, not a 50-50, but basically a 50-50 shot of doing D3 or 3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
And if you charge, it's a 5 out of 6 chance, whatever that is, percentage-wise. I was trying to do the math in my head, and I said, screw it, let's just do the fraction. So, stupid question with Tank Shock. Is it the shooting weapon that you roll for, or is it the melee?
It's the
highest shooting or highest. Check that real quick because there's something fun you can do with him. So ranged weapons, he has the Achilles Dred spear, which is a melee and a shooting weapon. If you look at the spear, it's got a huge basically it's a las cannon. It's not a las cannon here, sadly, but it's basically a las cannon. So the Achilles Dred spear, for some odd reason, is 12 inches. No idea why.
All right, we are back. We got to take a brief pause there. While Dan finishes chewing very quickly, I will say that the Tank Shock is melee weapon. So it is actually a melee weapon.
Oh, yes, that's perfect. Okay, so I left off with the Achilles Dred spear. The Achilles Dred spear, for some odd reason, is 12 inches. Why? I don't know. This is the smallest it's ever been in any edition. I thought it'd be 24. Whatever. It's 12 inches, one shot, hits on 2, strength 9, AP -2, 3 damage. So it's a baby las cannon. That's what it used to be, and that's what it is now. It's a baby las. I don't know again why it's 12 inches, but whatever. You can arm him. I don't even have to look at the stupid profile. I memorized these stupid. Oh God, it's so depressing. You can arm him. Although, let me see real quick before I do anything.
I don't need to look at these profiles and memorize them. I look at these profiles.
They did do it. No, they did do it weird. Okay, why did they do that? So normally. This is that 30k influence. Normally, you can replace the 2 Lastrum bolters with 2 Infernus Incinerators or 2 Twin Adrasite Destructors. Or you can do 1 and 1. So you can do 1 bolter, 1 incinerator, 1 bolter, 1 Adrastic, 1 incinerator. Why they did that, I have no idea. But whatever. Your choice is your choice. So the Infernus Incinerator is basically, I think, the version of a Heavy Flamer. It's 12 inches, Torrent, Ignore Flamer, D6 shots, Strength 6, AP -1 damage. It's actually not a bad profile. Strength 6 will most things on 3s. AP -1 is great, and 1 damage isn't enough to plink off stuff.
Yeah, it's a flamer. You're not expecting more than that.
Lastrum Storm Bolter is exactly what the Terminators have. It is a 24-inch rapid fire 2 shots, strength 5, AP -1, 1 damage. And then the Twin Adrastic Destructor is a very sexy choice. This is my favorite choice. It's 1 shot, 18 inches, but it is Twin Link, so rerolls to wound. Strength 6, AP 2, 3 damage. So that's my personal favorite choice. Also because it looks cool. The Incinerator looks kind of dumb. The Bolter looks pretty cool, but the Adrastic Destructor, it's weird. It's like Rick. I don't know if it has it on Forgeworld. This is the sad part. Maybe they have a picture of it on Forgeworld, but it's like rectangular. Let me see. I'll just really quick browse. That's the Incinerator. So that's the gray Incinerator one. That's the Bolter. That's the Bolter.
Let's show the Incinerator and Bolter.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. So yeah, it's a weird cube. Like it looks cool. It looks like a Volkite, and I've always loved the Volkite. And then the melee weapon. This is where we get super powerful. So he 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, obviously. Strength 12, AP -2, D6 +1 damage with Lance. So if you charge, it's +1 to wound. And the reason I like this guy is I think there was a reason he didn't get top place. I think he got 4th. He got double ranked against Eldar back to back, and it was but he took 2 of these, and his thing was he charge up, save 2 CP for tank shock 1 of them. That's a good amount of mortal wounds plus the mortal wounds you get with the charging, and then you're swinging a D6 +1 damage. It's enough to pretty much take down a knight.
Yeah, no, I mean this is a good anti-tank option, which we have not seen very much of, other than your Land Raider, which can have some strong weapons and all. But they haven't had actually tons and tons of anti-tank, really heavy shots, or in this case, cheap. Heavy close combat.
And it's cheap.
Yes,
155. No, 165. Wait, shit.
I told you how much. He's 155.
155. 155 is cheap.
The other one's 175.
That's a pretty cheap Contemptor unit profile. So you can easily fit 155 in a list, and he'll do work for you. I mean, you'll probably get shot by whatever the Space Marine version of the Meltaguns are. What, the Eliminators? No, that's not their names.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember which
Eradicators.
Ones.
I think it's Eradicators.
Yeah, they're Meltagun / they have multi-meltas and stuff like that. Yeah.
Ugh. So yeah, if you face that, then sorry.
But that's true of anything. There's plenty of people who look at this like, I'm facing this. My blank unit is screwed. That's just the way the game goes.
And very popularly, I forgot about this. This is something I forgot to mention. They know karate. The tanks are not the only thing that know karate. The dreadnoughts, they didn't used to. In 8th and 9th edition, they did not used to know karate. So they now know karate. So they get buffed by, -1 to hit them, or sustained hits, or lethal hits on this guy.
Yeah.
So... yeah, pretty cool stuff.
They've done the nice and consistent thing of if you are part of your faction, you have your faction rule.
Yes.
I haven't seen anything that doesn't get the faction
rule. Listen, it might not make
faction.
fucking sense that the tank gets sustained hits because it's wiggling harder, but it's nice.
But the idea is that's not why.
I know. I'm kind of being facetious, but it is kind of funny.
You're choosing your own fanfic of why there.
-1 to hit, it wiggles. The Grav-Tank wiggles.
Yeah, if you say so. That's not all what happens. All right. We are moving forward.
Oh, the worst ones.
The Agamatus.
Yeah. Remember the problem we had with bikes? The
Yes.
plastic bikes, how they were too expensive?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because
Yep.
this
All
is
right.
3 for 280, 6 for
Yeah.
560.
Yeah.
These are more bikes. So that's what the Agamatus are. They have essentially that bike profile. They're the same toughness, same everything, except they got the one extra wound. So otherwise, and move 12. So otherwise, they're the same base profile of all Custodes, and they look like the bikes. These guys have turbo boost. Each time this unit advances, you get that 6-inch. That's the same thing the other bikes had. An implacable Vanguard. Once per battle in your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, if it's not in engagement range, you can make a normal move up to 6. If it does, until the end of the turn, you can't declare a charge. So you can't do this to get you charged and things like that. Because it does happen in your shooting phase. So once a game, you can move, shoot, move.
It's board dependent. Like if you're playing with a good board with a lot of what the hell are buildings called again?
Ruins?
Yeah, no. But what is the blocking called? Oh my God, I'm gonna have to pull the stupid app. Is it obscured?
Obscuring.
Yes, if you play with a lot of obscuring terrain, then this actually might work. But that's not the reason why they're sad.
No. Go through the melee profile first because they just have one. It's an Interceptor Lance with Lance, luckily. 5 attacks. It's strength 7 or 8 on the... sorry, not technically 8 on charge, but +1 to 1 on charge. AP -2 damage. So it's fine. You're expensive, though. For your ranged weapons, you can choose any one of the following. You can take the Adrasite Devastator. It's very similar to the Adrasite we looked at. It's one shot, 18 inches, strength 7, AP -2, 3 damage. The problem is you're not going to have too many of these. The Lashram Bolt Cannon, sustained hits 1. It's pretty much a heavy bolter. It's 3 shots on strength 6, AP -1, 1 damage. Or a Twin Last Pulsar, which is twin linked. 24 inches for 2 shots, strength 9, AP -1, 2 damage. Yeah, they run into the problem. So, do you have what page the other bikes were on?
Yes. Actually, I was just, oh shoot. And you know what's funny? I had it, and
there
then
it is.
I closed out. Yep.
The Virtus Praetor, right? That's what we're looking at.
Virtus Praetors. Yep.
Yeah. So we look at their other thing. Their other ability was the potential to give mortal wounds after an advance, but their weapons can't shoot and advance. These guys can advance. They can't shoot any of their weapons then. And their ability doesn't help. Their once per game ability doesn't do you any good either if you advance. So you're advancing if you need to get into a right position. How much advance and charge does this army have? We talked about it, but I don't remember there being anything.
Blade Champion.
Which you can't put in here anyway.
Exactly.
So, no.
You can put a bike captain in there, which can...
do the once per
fall
0.
Back. They can fall back and then charge and shoot.
Yeah. But if your bonuses are... If one of your faction abilities is related to advance, I'm not then shooting. And the Implacable Vanguard is once per game, a 6, and then you're still not allowed to charge. I don't think you gain too much, and you're expensive.
Their guns kind of suck. Their guns really, really suck. To give you an idea, the Adrasite Destructor always used to be that. One shot, blah, blah, blah. There. Lashram Bolt Cannon used to be more shots, but it's sustained ones with 3, whatever. The Twin Last Pulsar is why this kind of hurts, because they're costing it for the Twin Last Pulsar. The Twin Last Pulsar used to be a 4 or 5 damage weapon, strength 9, AP -3, right? It was like a melt a missile without being a melt a missile, right? It lost its AP, it lost its damage completely. I mean, sure, it's twin linked, but it's only 2 damage with only 2 shots. So and it used to be the most expensive. It used to be like an extra 20 points for your bike, which I could see why they're so expensive here, because I thought the Twin Last Pulsar would be that big, massive, this is what you want to take, but it's not. And there's just something, again, missing with these guys that it just doesn't make sense why they're so expensive.
Yeah, they're about 90 points a model. Because 3 models for 280, it's about 90 some points per. Yeah. Now this is this fast option, but again, this army, not that their units tend to be very quick. 6-inch move isn't very fast, but you have a lot of deep strike, which means you have the ability to move around. You have units that can pull themselves off the board and come back down. You have some mobility. I do think it's useful to have a mobile option, but to spend even more, I'm not sure they're going to do that good for me. Not when I have a Laris who can do my backfield, opponent backfield objective grabbing or something weird like that.
Yeah.
I want my fast unit to have some punch, and I just don't. I think they're lacking some of the punch.
Yeah.
For other points, for an army, if this was another army, it might not feel as bad because you're going to fit a bunch of other options in because your stuff is cheaper. When your stuff's already expensive, and then I can't fit anything in, that gets a little rough.
I know you kind of mentioned it before. I know you tossed the comment in the Facebook chat, I think, as a joke, but it does play here. It's not that you want to optimize your list. It's not. You always want to play for fun, right?
I do.
But you also, I know. But at the same time, you look at these, there are way too many points. It's not like you're saying, oh, they're not optimized, but you're almost saying like, listen, they don't do what I want them to do for the amount of points they do. It is a feels bad kind of.
Yeah. Units like this, I mean, it's good that we have variety. It's good that if someone likes it, bring it. They're not going to be bad. Anything with their profile is not bad. Nothing in Custodes is bad because their profile is always good. So you're always getting something useful out of it. But, you will probably feel, in general, that certain units underperform for you. Or it's going to make you feel easier for that unit to feel it underperforms. And I think this one's going to fit that profile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although if you want bikes, take the other bikes. The other bikes actually do a very decent, a better job than these guys.
Also, don't buy these bikes from Forgeworld. Forgeworld, I love you, but there's no. Do you know how much these bikes are, by the way?
I had the Forgeworld thing on the open other spot. I know it's insane.
I got you. So 3 of the plastic bikes are $65, right? $60 or $65, whatever. 1 bike from Forgeworld is $70.
Yeah, no.
What? No.
Yeah, that's absolutely nuts. Don't do any of that.
Please. It's not worth it. On a happier note, probably one of my favorite models of the range.
I agree. I think this is actually the model.
Why are they your favorite? Why are they your favorite?
Because just the way they look.
Yeah, honest. I was gonna say they remind me of the Hawkmen.
They're Hawkmen. They're 100% Hawkmen.
They are. Yeah. They're so cool. I did
that's
not model them with the flight stand.
Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the Custodes look. This is the one set of models in the faction that I like.
That
I really, really like. The other ones, some of them are okay, but this ones are the ones I like.
All right, so these are the ones we're talking about, have you mentioned the name, are the Venatari Custodians. So for those who might not know what they look like or listening to the podcast, think of Custodes.
I flashed them up if you were watching.
Yeah, but... eagle wings. They basically Custodes with eagle wings. Hawkmen. Have you ever watched... oh my God, the name is escaping me. Flash Gordon.
There it is. I was going to let you just sit with that until you came up with it.
Oh, man, but like the name escaped me. So these guys are jump packs, Custodians. So they move 10, toughness 6. They are a 2-up save this edition. Thank God. Last edition, they were 3-up because they were wearing clothes. So they're 2-up, 4-up, 3 wounds, leadership 6, 2 OC. Their abilities are great. I love their abilities. I want to fit these guys in. I'm trying to figure out a way to fit these guys in. So they have 2 abilities: Strike from the Skies. So they're eligible to shoot and declare a charge in the turn which they fell back. That's just native for them. So they could fall back and charge, fall back and shoot, whatever. They don't care. The second thing they have is Swooping Dive, which is this one I really love. Which is once per battle, you can target this unit with the Rapid Ingress stratagem for 0 CP, even if you've done it again that phase. So for those to refresh your brain, what is Rapid Ingress? Rapid Ingress is at the end of your opponent's movement phase. You can put your unit into deep strike your unit down, which is great because that means you could kind of deep strike into an objective, deep strike behind cover really close by, so they can't be shot, right? You're obviously not going to put them right in front of the army, right?
Yeah.
But it gives you that, hey, it's basically a free movement, essentially, is what it is. And you'll see with what weapons they can have, this is really, really, really good for them. So weapon-wise, they can have a kinetic destroyer and a Tarsus buckler. So basically a pistol and a shield, essentially. Or they can have a Venatari lance, which is a spear with a gun on it. So the kinetic destroyer, is a pistol, sustained hits 1, 12-inch range, 2 attacks, strength 6, AP 1 damage. Slight saltier, it used to be 2 damage. Whatever. Nothing I can do. But it's still good. It's still a good pistol. You can shoot it in combat. The Tarsus buckler is a melee weapon. It's, I think, a Misericordia. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. While you're looking that up,
it is a Misericordia. No, it is.
3 models for $235, 6 models for $470.
And they're not that expensive. They're basically a 5-man unit of guard. So Tarsus buckler is strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage. It's a Misericordia. Also, if you have a buckler, you become 4 wounds.
Yeah.
And the good news is, by the way, you can it doesn't have to be unanimous. You can have some guys with pistol buckler, other ones with Venatari lance. You can mix and match. The Venatari lance, which absolutely got a glow up this edition, Jesus Christ. It is assault. It's basically a spear. I don't know why they didn't just call it a Guardian Spear, but whatever. It's basically a spear. 24 inches, 2 shots, strength 4, AP -1, 2 damage. So it's a spear shooting. And it's got lance. Okay. I didn't realize it had lance. So it is a spear with lance. So it's 5 attacks, strength 7, AP 2, 2 damage, but with lance. Didn't realize. Oh, wow. So that means they all have, that's nice. Now I understand why they're 235 for 3. That lance actually adds it. I love these guys. I'm trying to figure out a way to fit them in the list.
Remove something, just put them in. If you want to play them, just do it. Play the units you want to play.
It's the problem is I own so many, Dave, that it's like I take something out and I put it in, and I'm like, wait, why did I just put in this and this? And I enter like list lock. Hey, you know how I am.
No, what's nice is since you have enough stuff, you could literally each time just play a different list.
That's what the list I sent you was a completely different list.
Well, yeah, but then play that. Don't worry about other lists. Play that after the next week. Play something else. That's what I like to do.
I was gonna say after Friday, I'll come up with a Venatari list.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. I don't like having one list I can run because
I don't think I've played a single same Custodian list yet. Unlike the Demon list, that was the same list all the time. This has been a different Custodian list, which has been fun. Let's see here, but yeah, no, these are great. These are great for 235 for 3. I kind of wish it was a little tiny bit cheaper because it's only 3. But honestly, 235 for 3.
But that's going to be true of everyone. Everyone's going to say they always wish stuff was a little bit cheaper. It's probably honestly, it's probably about right because when you consider some of those points costs, these guys do have 4 inches of extra move on a basic custode. They have decent weapons. The fact that they can swoop in and then get to yourself to a decently hidden spot, then move. And you now can be closer than the 9 for when you're doing your charges rather than if you did your own turn.
I saw someone take 2 units of 3 of these, I want to say. And he basically flanked them on both flanks. They moved 10 inches in turn. Can you rapid ingress in turn 1? No, you can't.
No, you have to be allowed.
No, it was turn 2. Yeah. So it was turn 2. He rapid ingressed on both flanks. They both moved 10 inches on his turn and they charge. And that's 15 and 15 attacks. That's strength 7 AP 2 damage. That's a hell of a lot of attacks coming in.
Yeah.
Now,
and the shooting profile's not bad for that either.
You know what the sad part is?
What?
I own 15 of these, right?
Okay.
Take a wild guess what they're armed with.
Are they? So they're the only 2 options, right?
Yep.
Well, if you own 15, I would guess you got like 7 of one type, 8 of another.
Nope.
No, did you do all lance?
All pistol and shield. All pistol shield.
Why? You like to vary.
I do. I was going to pick up another 15 and do 15 lance.
Oh my god.
But I haven't been around to that yet.
But why even 15? Like realistically.
So here's the problem. Because they used to be taken in squads of 10.
Okay.
So it's going to be 3, 10, 10, 10, right? Rule of 3. Yeah. Now they're in squads of 6, meaning
you need 18.
Yes. And they sell them in, I believe,
3 packs.
3 packs.
Yeah.
So it's still.
The other really important option is you just don't spam tons of the same unit. Because
why
spam?
When have
if you're running
spam?
You spam in every single list you ever run. The list you showed me was spammed. Absolutely.
It was because Custodian Guard that I need to take.
And your 3 squads of 2 Alaris. And your double of whichever tank it was. Yeah. That's exactly what you do. No. A double pack or a 3 pack of one thing is one thing. When you keep doing that over multiple units, that gets a little much. But
what are they, 235?
235 for 3.
And 2 Alaris are what? 130 each?
Pop out 2 Alaris, put them in. There you go. Boom. Have fun.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Anyway.
So let's talk about a little tank.
The cutest tank in the world.
It is actually a very small tank.
It's super small.
All right. So this is the Pallas Grav-Tank. This is 120 points. It's a move 12, toughness 8, 2 up, 5 up invul, 9 wounds, leadership 6. It's 2 objective control. Deadly demise is D3. Has Merciless Hunter. In your shooting phase, each time this model makes an attack that targets an enemy that's below half strength, +1 to wound. So as long as you've hurt them before. It has both of these weapons. As you see, there is no various warrior options. The melee is, of course, its armored hull. 3 attacks on 4s, strength 6, 1 damage. All the vehicles can hit you with the fact they're vehicles. The twin Arachnus Blaze Cannon. It's devastating wounds and twin linked. Devastating wounds, keep in mind, twin linked. Twin linked is just reroll the wound or reroll fail to wounds?
Reroll wounds.
Okay, are we sure about that?
No, but I will check
Okay, I'm looking at it right now. You can reroll the attack's wound. So you are allowed to fish.
Yeah.
So if you want the devastating, you can absolutely reroll anything that's not a 6 and just try again. But it's 24-inch range, 8 shots, strength 5, AP -1, 1 damage. Do you get enough out of it for 120 points?
No. Sadly.
No. I thought the main weapon might be a little bit better for those.
So there's a couple problems with this. One, it only has 1 weapon. The kit comes with 2. And it's had 2 weapons since 8th edition and 30k. It's either an Arachnus Blaze Cannon or the Adrasite. So you could have taken the Adrasite, but it's missing from this profile. Why? Okay. No one knows. 2, okay, so here's the other problem. The Arachnus Blaze Cannon used to have 2 profiles, a burst profile and a focus profile. The idea was you could burst it and do like multiple low damage shots, or you can focus it and do a high damage single shot. It seems like what they did with the Arachnus this edition, unless you're talking about the plane, which is weird, all burst their profiles. So you're getting a ton of attacks, which is cool. Strength 5 AP 1 damage, for 120 points is not that great.
No, especially when you're in an army that's going to be kind of tight for points anyway. I don't see how this outperforms.
It doesn't.
Anything or because it's only 2 objectives. It's not like it's even grabbing objectives. Yeah. The gun isn't even super long range. If the gun was very long range, I could see maybe it's your sniper sort of thing because you don't have any very long range stuff on cheaper profiles. I don't see what it does for you.
So to give you a context, in the previous editions, they were around 80 points a pop. In 30k, they're 60 points a pop.
Yeah.
This should be at least maybe 70 points. This should not be that many. It's basically a land speeder. It should be treated like a land speeder. I mean, a land speeder with a 2-up save and a 5-up invul, but
I mean, and that part is nice. A vehicle and a 2-up save is nice, or even if it's Merciless Hunter, all right, you have to be below half strength. A lot of the ways that Custodes is going to get people below half strength is into melee. Mm-hmm. Which then, if you're not a vehicle, that if the Custodes are in, fighting an infantry unit and now they're below half strength, I'm not allowed to shoot in there anyway, unless the other thing's a vehicle or something like it's
great. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I think sub 100. I'm not sure exactly where, but sub 100 would feel better because it just doesn't feel like you quite get enough. And this is an army where I think you could easily have points left over, but 100+ points is kind of tough.
Yeah,
they'll have left over.
I think it just paid the cost for fly, honestly, because everything
flying
that's fly
is not that great right now.
Exactly, but flying is overcosted.
Well, flying is at least nice.
I'm just saying that they costed it too high for what it does.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true for most things. That's not just a Custodian's problem. Oh, yay! The Telemon is next. Oh, the fattest of fat. Our version of a Leviathan. So this dude, I think, clocks in at 235. Yes, 235.
Okay.
Movement 8. So he is actually pretty fast, surprisingly. It's actually faster than the Contemptors. 10 toughness. He is thick. 2-up, 4-up. 12 wounds. Although when he reaches 1 and 4, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Leadership 6, 4 OC. So he is thick. Deadly Demise D3, and then each time an attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 from the damage characteristics of that attack. So it's always damage -1. That's nice. Although things going into it are usually D6 damage or D6 +1, but whatever.
Yeah, it's still useful.
It's useful.
Yeah,
I'm just laughing. Yeah,
the stuff that'll hurt him easily isn't necessarily going to care about the -1.
It can take pretty much any variation of these weapons. So it has essentially, except the missile launcher is always the missile launcher, but it essentially has 3 weapon profiles. It has a fist, it has an Arachnus Storm Cannon, it has an Elastus Accelerator Culverin. And you can take any variants of those two. So you can take double fist, fist and Culverin, Culverin and Accelerator, or Culverin and Arachnus, Arachnus and fist, a double Arachnus, double Storm Cannon, any variation of those you can take up to 2. And then the fist at least has also a flamer on it, or a twin plasma projector. So let's talk about the fist first. If you take the fist, you have 5 attacks, 2s to hit, strength 12, AP -2, 3 damage. So it's just a smack profile. It just does damage. If you don't have a fist, let's say you have 2 ranged weapons on your arms, you can kick with your feet. It's 5 attacks, strength 7, AP 0, 1 damage. So it's just something. So since we talk about the fist, on the fist, you have a twin plasma projector. It's torrent and twin linked. Very nice. It's D3 shots, strength 7, AP -2, 1 damage. So it's a plasma flamer, essentially. It's essentially a plasma flamer. The Spiculous Bolt Launcher is the missile launcher that you see on the top. It is blast. It's also D6 plus 3 shots. Strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage. So it's just, again, it's one of those things where it's like you shoot it at a horde. Got it. Like a Necron blob, what am I doing? D6 plus 7?
Yeah, D6 plus
shots?
7.
Oh my God. The Accelerator Culverin, 4 attacks at 48 inches. It hits on 2s, of course. Strength 9, AP -1, 3 damage. And then we get to the Arachnus Storm Cannon. So this is an interesting profile. Again, this is the one that could choose between beam or dispersed. Again, they went dispersed with this. So it's 12 attacks at 24 inches. Strength 6, AP -1, 1 damage, but it's devastating wounds. So it's basically a souped up assault cannon.
Yes.
It's a double shot assault cannon. That's essentially what it is.
Yes, it is. And you can take 2 of those.
And you can't take 2 of those. I've seen someone take 2 of these.
I think 2 of them, it might be a good option. I kind of do like that.
The problem is you lose the melee. The moment this dude gets tagged, it's just...
you're a vehicle, you can shoot in combat.
That's true. Never mind. Ignore everything I said.
It used to be that issue, but now we're in 10th. He'll be at -1, but that's on 3s. That's still pretty good. On 24 shots, good. I'll do that. Yeah. You're allowed to take 2 of the fists.
It doesn't do anything anymore. It used to be.
I was about to say, but you don't get to do anything extra.
It used to be gain attacks.
I do remember that was a thing, and I'm like, wait, I don't think that's a rule in the game anymore.
Nope. It literally, yeah.
Okay. I would absolutely. I could see it with a fist and one of the storm cannons. I think you already have a bunch of spots of 3 damage weapons in this army.
Yeah, exactly.
I need something for horde. This army doesn't in ranged melee, sure, but in ranged, if you don't plan well, horde could be a problem. A 20-man block could actually be very tough for you to get through and shooting because like your 3 damage weapon. Okay, you killed the guy. I don't care. Exactly. This is a good option to actually start mowing down when you see large units. Gene Stealer cults are really big right now. Guard giant units can be a pain. Necron giant units can be a pain. Tyranid 20-man blobs and some of their stuff can be a pain. You need to be able to chew through that. And I would love nothing more than to multi-turn lock down one of your Custodes units because they can chew in combat, but they can't chew enough. And it takes them 2 turns to get out or something like that. So this is something that can mow down some of those units.
And it does. 24 shots plus D6 plus 3 with blast is... That's a nice profile. This does DACA.
Yes. Oh, yeah, because actually even with that other one. So you're pumping out tons of damage one-shots, which means it tells me the types of targets I want to go for. I'm not intermixing profiles where I'm necessarily doing weird things. I can kind of heavily focus. 24-inch range is a decent range, especially when you're move 8. Put yourself behind a Custodes unit. That way you don't necessarily get charged. If someone deep strikes in, you can't prevent that. But they deep strike in, maybe I'll try to just shoot them down. They charge in, I'll do that. I'll shoot in close combat. I'll have someone else come in and support.
These guys have been... The really good thing with these guys is that they've been used to take out the Space Marine Desolator squads. That's why people have been taking these. Because you point this at a Desolator squad, and just from sheer number of just wounds, you'll kill them.
Yeah. No, I like the Telemon, and I absolutely like the Telemon with running a bunch of storm cannons. I think that's a great option for him. So,
Oh, just a cool. Yep.
all right. That takes us to the Caladius. Let me move to the Caladius. There we go. For the points on this bad boy, he is 215. He is a big old chunky vehicle. I always forget which one the Caladius is of the two.
One I have.
Are they
that's
that
the one.
different?
That's the one I take. Yes. Yes. The
Okay.
Coronus is massive. It's bigger than a Spartan. It's
Oh,
a
is
little
it?
smaller than a Baneblade.
Oh yeah, it does look a lot
thing is
bigger. You're right.
Fat. The
Yeah.
Caladius is our version of your it's the 30K Space Marine vehicle that does a lot of DACA and like it's used the Sicaran. It's our
Sicaran?
version of your Sicaran. Yeah.
Okay.
It's our
Yeah.
grad
For anyone
version.
watching, I threw it up there really quick so they could see it. So this is a move 10, 11 toughness on a 2-up save. So with 14 wounds, so quite survivable, especially for its cost, which was in just what the 230s, I think I said.
Yes.
The 235.
This is
215. My apologies. 215.
215
So
is
actually,
really
that's a great
cheap,
profile for 215. 6 leadership, 4 objective points. Deadly Demise D3, sure. Has advanced firepower. Each time this model makes an attack with its twin Elastis accelerated cannon that targets an enemy unit, can't count monsters or vehicles. That attack has lethal hits. And each time it makes an attack with its Arachnus heavy blaze cannon that targets a monster or vehicle, it gets lethal hits. So depending on which weapon you use depends on who you get lethal hits against.
Exactly.
The weapon that's better for vehicles and monsters does better against vehicles and monsters. It does degrade -1 to hit when it's got 1 to 5 wounds left. It has the bolt cannon, and then it can take the Iliastus accelerator or the twin Arachnus. The bolt cannon is the thing that we've talked about, heavy bolter essentially. It has its armored hull. I don't even care. It can take 4 shots at you with its body. The twin Arachnus, heavy blaze cannon. It's twin linked. It's 4 shots. Strength 12, AP -3, D6 +2. When you're twin linked, that means you're going to be getting damage through. Or you can take the Iliastus accelerator cannon, 4 shots onto its strength 10, AP -1, 3 damage. It is rapid fire 4, so if you get within 24 inches range, it's 8 shots, and it is swing to linked as well.
They're both good profiles.
Both profiles are really good. It depends on what you need. I can absolutely... The first profile probably fits the anti-tank maybe a little bit better.
Yes.
Although the second profile can get twice as many shots.
Yes, the AP -1 might not. Most tanks are now 2-up save.
But there's a lot of
AP
threes. But yeah, between 2s and 3s. So the AP -3 and the D6 +2, you are at least on the same amount of damage. The strength 12 is going to help. Both of them are twin linked. So I'm a little less worried about the wound. But I will say, needing 5s on a vehicle to wound it versus the strength 12 might get you to 4s or even 3s if it's like a toughness 11 vehicle is a huge difference.
Yeah.
If vehicles are your problem, go with the Arachnus.
Yep. I will say because of my army, what I've collected, I don't really own much anti-tank. I don't have Land Raiders. I'm still building them.
Yeah.
So because I don't have anti-tank, I take the Blaze option. But I actually do own the accelerator cannons painted. They're magnetized. I just pop them out. But I don't need anti-infantry for now. So I just take the Blaze cannons because those are my premier anti-tank shots that I need. Or anti-monster. For example, I was playing against... You saw the game against Josh... Or probably you left before then.
I saw a little bit of it. I didn't stay for the whole
Josh
thing, but I
played
see part of
Thousand
it,
Suns, and I just, with one cannon, killed his Demon Prince.
Yeah.
That was shooting a shit ton of mortals with his Doom Bolt. But I was like, that's not going to happen again. Targeted him. I think I got 2 6s on the hit, so that was just lethal hits automatically. And then the other one's wounded anyway because it was twin linked. He failed, I think, 2 of his saves on a 4-up, which is normal, and that was 2d6 plus 4 damage. And they're only, 10 wounds? So,
around there, yeah.
10 or 9 wounds. So yeah, he popped like a balloon. So this is my premier, this is a big target. I can't reach it yet. This needs to die.
Yeah, especially with 48-inch range. That's a lot of range for this army. Again, this you have to figure out what the army wants. What it lacks, in my mind, depending on your units, it lacks a few things. It lacks the ability in range to take out large hordes, which we just saw a great way to do that, and heavy tanks or heavy vehicles. When you get to close combat, you might have some options. but you kind of lack that, especially from very long range. This gives you that very long range. I would absolutely take that as my option if I was taking this tank, because the way I see the list and build it, that's what I'm lacking.
And that's why I say this is a pretty damn good tank for its points.
Yeah, 215 is very, very cheap.
Most lists take at least one of these.
Yeah.
If not two. I've seen some with three, but I think at that point it's absolutely redundant. It does not need three of these because now you're cutting into other squads. I think 1 to 2 is enough of a. One might die too quickly because of a lot of the.
It's a focus. It's my heavy anti-tank, and that's your anti-tank. I'm going to shoot it. I'm going to
focus it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because your custodes are slower and they can't hit me from 40 some inches.
Exactly.
I'll have an extra turn to worry about them. I could absolutely see why people take 2 of these. And I think part of the 2 that people would take is because this army does lack ranged anti-tank. And in general, it lacks to a lot of ways anti-tank. Strength 7, Strength 8, even Strength 9 on a guy is not great anti-tank. Because I'm still needing 5s or maybe even a crazy tank 6s. But if I still need 5s, I'm not reliably getting through you. This is a gun that can reliably put the damage down.
Yep. 100% agree on this. Yeah. And again, from someone who's used this, this is the only thing that hasn't changed from Army. I mean, I went from 1 to 2, back to 1, back to 2. And the only reason I kind of been sticking with 2 is honestly because if I take 1, sometimes you just roll like shit and nothing does damage.
That's true of anything. Like, I've had those cases. Absolutely.
At least I double up on my shit rolls sometimes. But I absolutely 1000% take at least 1 or 2. And you know what? I'm going to toss this in here. I know I'm going to talk about this more at the end.
Okay.
In final thoughts.
Yeah.
I want to retract what I said about Trajan being auto take. The more I've thought about it and looked at it and kind of mulched, I think he's not stupid. Taking him isn't going to hurt you. No. But I don't think he's auto take anymore. I think you could literally easily sub him in for a shield captain for cheap and not feel a difference. He does a different, but I'll talk about that at the end. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because I think the Caladius is actually an auto take if you have it, because at least if you have 1, it's your anti-tank.
Yeah. If you're playing competitive, I think you absolutely need 1. And if you're playing for fun, I still think it's almost an auto take because you need some form of anti-tank. So. You really do.
I think so. And that's
in this game.
It's so weird that I'm saying Trajan's not auto take. I feel dirty. But I think this one's an auto take, and it's literally only because, and even the accelerator cannon is not bad. Don't get me wrong. The accelerator cannon is great, but just that heavy blaze cannon is so stupidly anti-tank.
You need the extras. Hits. The extra 2 on strength and the extra 2 to the AP mean that you can reliably damage vehicles instead of I need to luck out. Yep. And this is an army that's I can see otherwise big knight armies and stuff like that being something they maybe struggle with greatly, because if I can play keep away, they're not really going to get through me. This is a model that can get through you. But all right,
the thickest of tanks I think is next.
Yeah. The Coronus is up next.
Oof,
so for that Coronus, I looked up his points. He's 200 flat. I'll flash him on screen if anyone's watching. There's the Coronus. He's a big boy. He's also out of stock currently.
On a night base. Yeah, it's on a night base, and the tank easily fits over a night base.
Yeah, you can kind of see some base.
It's not even, you don't take him because he's points, or you don't take him because he's bad rolls. You don't take him because he doesn't fit on the goddamn table. This thing is massive.
Well, let's see what he does for you, because he is pretty cheap. So he's move 12, he's toughness 12, he's got the 2 up, 5 up, he's 16 wounds. So he is chunkier. Again, degrades on 1 to 5 left. He's 5 objectives on his leadership 6. He deadly demises D6, of course. He has fire support. In your shooting phase, add to this model a shot. Select 1 enemy unit that's hit by 1 or more of those shots. To the end of phase, each time a friendly model that disembarked from this transport this turn makes an attack against the enemy unit, you reroll the wound. So you shoot the thing that the people that come out of this tank are going to charge from.
Yep.
It does have assault range.
Well, they can't charge. It does not have.
Okay, so this is
and that's not a mistake. The Coronus Grav-Carrier has never had assault.
No, that's fine. For 200 points, I'm fine with it not having charge.
Exactly.
Letting them charge. It can carry 8 Custodes infantry. Oh, we didn't mention when the Venatari, obviously, their jetpacks say they can't go in a vehicle.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I think it specifically says Land Raider. But this one says
Land Raider.
infantry, so this one doesn't have to worry about, because the other one just said like Custodes.
Yeah.
So for your options, it has the twin Arachnus Blaze Cannon, twin Lastrum Bolt Cannon, and it's got it has all of its weapons. These are profiles we've talked about before. The twin Arachnus Blaze Cannon's the devastating wounds and twin linked with 24 inches and 8 shots, strength 5 AP -1/1 damage. We talked about the bolt cannons. The armored bulk is the same sort of thing, although it's strength 8 instead with 6 attacks because he's bigger. Do you take it ever?
Yeah, honestly, okay. The only reason I don't take it because I don't own it. I don't like the look of it, but it's slowly starting to grow on me. I've had Custodians for like 6 years, 7 years now, and it's taken 6 to 7 years for it to like slowly grow on me, the look. But my problem is Forgeworld. This is going to come out weird, so let me explain. They don't do boxes correctly. So like whenever...
Because they're not square?
No, let me explain. So the Caladius, right?
Yeah.
It's not hollow. It's a solid piece, right?
Yeah.
So it's you attach the side pieces. There's really not a lot of warping to happen. When you have a Forgeworld box, so this is a transport, right? Where you have the two walls, the roof, and the bottom piece.
Yeah.
If one of those pieces is warped, you're fucked. And there are 4 ways to make mistakes on that piece, you know? I've always
they're not
found
square.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a box, right? That Coronus, the picture you have the top, the 2 side pieces, and the bottom. So I always worry that, and I've heard bad things about how these things build is the other problem. But that being said, if I owned it and it's painted and I had it, right, whatever, I would take it. I'd stick 5 of the Meltadudes in here. Actually, not even the Meltadudes. I'd stick 5 of the Adrasite. Which one do I stick? Probably the Adrasite. Melta-guys? You think of Melta? Okay.
That's what I would do.
5 of the Melta-guys in here. Oh no, they can't assault. Doesn't matter. I have first strike or whatever it's called. Is it first
fights
strike?
first?
Yeah. Fights first. I have fights first with 2 CP. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Or my shield captain's in there. 0 CP fights first. Oh, what are you gonna do? Charge me?
The unit they want to only has to be hit by one of the weapons. You could always fire the bolt cannon at if you don't really care about what weapon, and you can then reroll wounds with that weapon. I think that's great.
This is great. It's just I would stick 5 Meltadudes and a shield captain in here and have a fun ass day.
Yeah.
Now I don't own the Melta Spears, nor do I own the Coronus Grav-Carrier, so that will not happen for quite some time. But if someone owns it, that's definitely a possibility with this thing. Stick a they could take a shield. Yeah, they could take a shield captain.
Yes.
Take a shield captain, stick him in Melta Spears. Now you have 5 Melta Spears lancing out, re-rolling wounds. That's gonna hurt. And if they charge you, 0 CP fights first with spears. Ooh, that's also why I didn't care that this thing had assault ramp, because if they charge you, you kind of have to stick the shield captain in there with him. But if he is, then congratulations, you played yourself. It's a good, but again, the problem is it is a big. I cannot stress how stupidly large this thing is. And I don't think so. Here's the problem. Like I know in tournament, I don't know about tournaments, or if it doesn't fit between 2 buildings, it can't sit, right? If it doesn't fit, it doesn't sit, right?
Pretty much, yes. You have to actually be able to fit. The wobbly model just allows for if it would fit, but it would be dangerous to your paint and stuff like that. Like that wobbly model doesn't mean you can go anywhere. You have to actually still be able to fit. So yeah, you're gonna have troubles.
Yeah, the problem here is that
this is a big model.
Because if you think about the knights are on their bases, but knights near the bottom don't take up the full base.
No,
they tend to get large later, so you can and they're pretty oval. This thing hangs over a bit, so this thing could get a little bit tough to move around.
Yeah, although since we're going to the next thing, it's not the toughest thing to move around.
No,
because now we're going to talk about this. Oh, so this one has a history. People used to not take this one, and I'm not sure if this is still a rule or not. So I don't look it up, so don't worry about it.
Okay, so this is the Orion.
This is the Orion. But the Orion and the Aries,
690
they're the
points.
Shape. They're the same exact shape, by the way. So it goes for both of these. The problem used to be that back in 9th edition, you couldn't take this if you played a certain deployment because it would overhang the deployment zone, and that meant that on turn 1 you literally could do nothing. So you would get shot and die. I'm not sure if that is still a thing with this. If you can act on turn 1 for 690 points, we'll talk about it in a second. But
Wait, why?
I would see
What do you mean weren't able to act on turn?
Because in 9th edition, there was a rule that said if it overhung the deployment zone, right, you were not able to move or shoot turn 1. You weren't able to activate turn 1 because it took you a turn to move onto the table, but you were still on the table. So what would happen is you would field one of these, you rolled that deployment in the tournament, or the tournament has that deployment. Congratulations, you have this big fat target that's going to get shot out of the sky.
Well, I mean, so
turn 1.
This one has at least an option because it is an aircraft. So and it has the ability to hover. If you don't choose the hover option, then you wouldn't start on the board anyway.
Anyway, exactly. But it's just, I don't know if if you start, let's say, hover, I don't know if the overhang rule is still.
Well, here's the thing, though. Since you have the hover, if you don't declare using the hover, if you wouldn't fit, don't declare hover, come in like a normal aircraft.
That's true.
That's what you would have to do.
20-inch move or more, because it's an aircraft. Toughness 12, it's thick. 2 up, 5 up. 22 wounds, 6 leadership, OC 0. It's deadly demise D6 with hover, obviously. It is an assault dropship, meaning that if a unit disembarks from this transport, you can actually assault charge in the turn.
For 690, you better be able to.
Yeah. Well, this is it. Until the end of the turn, the unit is eligible to charge in a turn which it advanced, which is nice. You can also fit, by the way, 12. It's got a long transport, but you could fit 12 custodians. You could transport contemptors in there as well, and they take up 6 custodian model spots. So you can actually fit 2 contemptors in there, which is hilarious.
That ain't bad.
For weapons, it's got a ton of action. Like, this thing is actually stoked to clear the deployment zone. So
it's got 2 of everyone.
Yeah. It's got 2 Arachnus heavy blaze cannons. That means, this is pretty ridiculous, it has 4 shots, so 8, because it has 2 of them. 8 shots at strength 12, AP 3, D6 plus 1 damage. Ew. Disgusting. So it's clearing tanks out of that deployment zone. But it also has 2 of the Spiculous heavy bolt launchers, which is blast, D6 plus 6 damage, strength 7, AP 1, 2 damage each.
D6 plus 6 attacks. You said damage.
Oh, sorry, D6 plus 6 attacks. Yeah. And it's also blast, so it's D6 plus 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. And it's got 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then it's got twin Lastrum bolt cannons. Who gives a shit? This is the 3 shots or 6, strength 6, AP minus 1 damage. Sustain it's 1. So this thing is prepped to, if it gets on that landing zone, it's going to hurt anything around it. Are there tanks where I need to go? Take 8 shots. 8. Is that a last cannon? Strength 12, AP 3, D6 plus 1?
That's the last cannon.
Yeah. So take 8 las cannon shots. Oh, is there a bunch of infantry where I need to drop my troops off? Take 2d6 plus 12.
Yeah, and then plus extra because of blast.
Plus extra if there's blast. Yeah. This thing, it's $690. It's very expensive.
Yes.
Would you take it?
From the past, this would have been a Lord of War.
Yes. Would you take it? I would take it for the lull if I owned it.
Honestly, it's good. Actually, for those amount of points.
I don't own it. I own an Ares. I own the anti-tank version of this. I still have to paint it, sadly. But that being said, I would take this thing.
So a few things. One, I did look up the deploying units rule.
Oh, you did?
During a turn in which a large model is set up on a battlefield. So in other words, it can't be fully set up. You just put your back edge down. A unit cannot do any of the following: make a move, advance, or fall back move, remain stationary, make any attacks with any ranged weapons, declare a charge. Have wings. If the model overhangs the deployment zone, it is not possible to set them up. Otherwise, when setting them up, they must be wholly within that. Their base must still be. So in other words, it mentions that some models, typically aircraft, have wings or other parts that extend significantly beyond the base. Such models can overhang a deployment zone if it's not possible to set them up otherwise. But they're setting their base must still be wholly within.
The base is fine. It wasn't the problem with the base. The base is not. It's the fact that the thing is like wide. It is a wide ship.
Because the first part is if a model is so large that its base cannot physically be set up wholly within.
Exactly. That's
so as long as if your base can't fit, you don't get a turn.
No, base is good.
If your base can fit, but you're too big, that's okay.
Now I kind of want one. I should have put it in the order we did. man. Maybe next time. Now I kind of want one. Just to lull with this. It's the baby Thunderhawk. I love it. No, this is a great 690 points is very expensive, obviously. It's over a quarter of your points. But if you're taking it, you're not taking it for like to be super competitive optimized. You're taking it for because it looks goddamn cool and you have sunglasses while playing because you're just that
it's
awesome.
Still good though. That's the thing. So 690 in this army, that's only a few units. That's really not that many. That's like three. That's like 9 models of some of these things.
Actually, you're right.
You know, so if you think about this is a model that if you want it on the board, ideally turn 1. And I want to go first because if I go first with 8 last cannons and the other stuff, I can take down hopefully at least some of the options that I'm really worried about. Because what would worry me about this unit is if you're going second, it's on the board. Some armies, like Necrons, I could kill this in 1 turn.
Oh, yeah.
My weapons, I have no problem with that. But not every army can do that. I would be worried if they have the very heavy weapons. I might then, if they have very heavy weapons, I might keep it off the board. Because if I get turned 1, they might take me out.
Yeah.
Because if I can survive out that turn 1, I'm going to take out tons of your stuff, really limit your options, and then start pushing forward. And that 20-inch move, if I start turn 1, 20-inch move, I pop down 20, and I pop out a few units. Realistically, this thing's going to be carrying like over 1,000 points of your army.
Yeah.
But it's going to pop down in turn 1. You are going to be hurting really bad against this thing. I'm not saying you should take it necessarily for ultra competitive, but I think it is good. Yeah. If you take this, warn your opponent.
It is slightly dopey looking.
It's a little.
It's the butt. It's literally.
I think a lot of Custodian stuff is.
Fun fact: the back part of it, when you open it up, can fit a Custodian with the base.
Impressive.
Yes, it is that. Like, you could actually fit the tuft. You kind of have to you have to kind of wiggle them in there. But because of the way the roof is shaped, you can fit, I think, 6 Custodians in there, not 12, but you could fit around 6 Custodians in there with their bases.
All right. That is going to take us then. He went through the Orion. I'm going to go through the Ares. So this is the gunship form of it.
Yes.
Which, the funny part to me is it has less guns.
Just wait till you see the guns.
I looked at it. They're good, but showed that up. So it's essentially the same thing without like the back. It looks pretty similar to me.
Yeah, and it's got a gun in the front nose. Like there's a hole in the nose.
Yeah.
And that gun, I don't know, you can't see the bottom of it, sadly. That gun runs all the way to the back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really... here, hold on. Give me 5 seconds.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, it's 580 points. It's 110 points cheaper. And here's what you get for that 110 cheaper. You get the same base profile. It should be the same base profile in every way. Let me just check very quickly to make sure. But I believe it is. Yes. Same profile. Whoop, yep. So if anyone's watching, Dan is about to show off his model. If you're listening, just imagine it.
So yeah, no. So here's what it just to give you also the size of wideness, because actually that's the Ares. That's how wide it is.
That's really big.
Yeah. So the thing was the base was fine, but this thing would overhang the deployment zone. But this, I love this. This design I'm okay with. But let me flip this skirt. So see that big? Oh, that's not great lighting. Oh, there we go. See that hole in the back?
Yeah.
That's not a misprint. There's the gun. And it's separate because I got to paint it, but it slides all the way through. So that's the size of the gun.
Yeah.
That you're shooting. Is that it runs the whole entire spine of the ship, which is so sick. It's so cool.
All right.
Sorry.
That's all right. Has Deadly Demise D6. It has Hover, of course, if you want to do that. Has Infernus Firebombs. Each time this model ends a normal move, you can select one enemy unit it moved over during that move. Till the end of the turn, models in that unit cannot have the benefit of cover, and you roll a d6 for each model. On a 6, they suffer a mortal wound. So you're literally just firebombing these guys.
Yep.
So, armored bulk, sure, who cares? We're going to look at the ranged weapons. It has 2 Arachnus heavy blaze cannons. This is the 36-inch range, 4 shots. It's the last cannon, 4-shot last cannon. Strength 12, AP -3, d6 +1. And it has 1 Magna blaze cannon, 48-inch range, 3 attacks, strength 18, AP -4, d6 +6. So this is absolutely your anti-tank.
Yeah.
Strength 18, if we're not on a Titan, is like the highest damage profiles that we've seen. D6 plus 6 is a very nice damage profile. The AP minus 4 is really nice. 3 attacks, so not tons of attacks, but that's okay. On 580, I still kind of like the other one more, personally.
I like the other one more because it transports, but
yes,
I don't mind this one at all.
Well, the other part I like about the other one more, its Magna Blaze Cannon is really good at the job it does, but I do kind of like that the other one does a little bit of a variety of things because it has enough blast cannon type shots for takedowns of vehicles, and it's got blast to deal with the horde you have, and and the bolt cannons or whatever to help deal with the horde you have. This is really good. If I was taking one or the other, and if I'm taking that, I think I do take the other one. Though this one, I don't know. It's kind of like overkill. A strength 18, D6 plus 6. I see your vehicle. I have killed it.
Yeah, I look at I think it's a war. It just kills warhounds at this point.
It can. It has the potential. Between that and the other weapons, it absolutely has the potential to kill warhounds. It's just like, it's kind of like just over the top and ridiculous. Like, you shot me. Oh, you made some hits. All right. My vehicle's gone. Unless I have like invul save. The other day when I was playing, I was making 4-up invul saves on my Doomstalkers. Great. You don't touch them then. That's also sometimes my problem with some of this stuff. You have a few shots with that big gun. I still want to target probably at least one of the heavy blaze cannons at the same target. Because what if I roll a 1 to hit?
Yep.
What if I roll a 1 to wound? Or what if they have an invul save and they make it? Now my giant gun might have done nothing. I'm probably, the best form of kill is overkill. And I feel this thing has to overkill targets because if your gun doesn't work, say you just flub the roll or they save the roll, you will felt like you spent so many points to do nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
It is cool though. I will give it that.
And it looks cool. It does look cool.
All right, and we are back now, and we have one last thing. We have the Galatus
unit
for 175.
Another great looking unit. Sure. Yeah.
This one with the giant spear?
No, this is the one with the shield and sword.
Got it. Okay. I'll throw them up there.
And the cool thing is that they're like they're very posable because they're all ball and socket joints. So you can really do some cool stuff with these poses. Anyway, so same exact stat line as the Achilles, except it has a 4-up invul. So you're looking at movement 6, toughness 9, 2-up save, 4-up invul, 10 wounds, 3 OC, leadership 6. So it's again same exact stat line, except the shield gives it that extra invul. However, it's very, very cool. The shield also gives it the Galatus shield ability, which each time a melee attack targets this model, subtract 1 from the wound roll. That's a sexy ability right there. Because you are toughness 9. So not many melee abilities, unless it's like dedicated melee, like a big monster, is going to hit you at on like strength 9 or above. So they're mostly going to wound you on 5s. Now they're wounding you on 6s, which is its sword does have a flamer inbuilt in it. So it's a D6 shot, strength 6, AP minus 1 damage. It is twin linked though, because there's 2 of them. It's one on one side of the blade, one on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. Who cares? And the Galatus Warblade did get a glow up this edition. Thank God. It was, oh my God. It was so shit last edition. Oh my God. 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, obviously. Strength 8, AP 2, 3 damage. So it's basically your Terminator killer.
He's slow though. He's only 6 move.
Yeah, he's the same move as the Achilles, 6, which is his problem. All 3 Contemptor variants are exceptionally slow. You would think they'd at least move 8.
Well, we're thinking 30K. 30K they do.
True.
He's fine. I'm not crazy excited. And the only reason I think I'm not crazy excited is you have so much melee options. There's so many things that melee. He's just another dude who melees. He's a dude who melees at 175. So he's cheaper than some of your other dudes who melee. And if you like the model, he'll do well.
Minus 1 to wound. Yeah, and he's minus 1 to wound. So you throw him at something
in melee, when he gets into melee. As you said, though, I think this guy, he's going to be rushing at melee, and your goal is to take him down before he gets there, because your better shot at him, of course, is as he's running in.
If you're shooting him, that means you're not shooting my guard squads, which are way more expensive. And in my opinion, more deadlier in melee. He's not
yes,
better
absolutely.
in
They're much
melee.
better in melee.
He's just annoying as shit to. Now, give me 1 second. Now I have to check.
Oh, but he's a vehicle, so I could shoot him when he gets into melee still. So that will help.
Very true.
In this edition, that's going to help you a lot because you might be at -1 to hit, but at least I still have him as an option.
You could also give him fight first. I want to check something though.
What are you trying
infantry.
to check? Oh, one of your stratagems.
Yeah, no. You could make him fight first, which is pretty neat.
All right.
Also, you can give him +1 to wound.
That's right. He hopefully won't need it much.
Yeah.
I do think he's quite good. I do think for 175, he's a point costed. He's a bit cheap for this army, which is nice. They can fit him in. I'm also just not a big fan of his look. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, he looks a little
too gaudy.
I guess that's the problem. Again, maybe it's the paint, maybe it's a different color.
A lot of people don't like the gold. I actually prefer the Forgeworld gold over the GW gold.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but maybe I think it's the pose, honestly. I think hold on.
It's not the pose. I'm really? Okay with the pose.
Because I was gonna say, once you get like the model, you can do like really cool things. Like I do something like, this. I'm gonna see how this pops up. Hold on.
You have them off the camera.
To the side. Yep. The problem is like
that's not too crazy from their pose though. Their pose is similar to that. Their pose just the sword is more in front instead of so your pose the sword is more pointing forward. Their pose is the sword is across himself. I mean he's fine. I'm just not a huge fan of him, but I'm that's my thing with Custodes in general. So maybe we will move on to some final thoughts. Let me get a timestamp. Okay. Maybe I'll go first because you'll have more to be able to say and get into more details. I'll just be honest. In general, I'm just not a big fan of Custodes. I'm not sure why. Part of it is the look. I'm not just a huge fan of the look. Not painted in gold. Painted in very, very different colors. I like more, but that's just a little bit of me. Also, how just the way the army functions is just not for me personally. I don't think there's necessarily so much of a problem with them. I think it is better than they've been in previous editions in terms of fairness and balance. I do think there's some problems, but it's Index 40K. Everyone's got problems. Everyone's got issues. And sometimes it's better to raise up the bottom than lower the top. So we'll see exactly what they do with those sorts of things. I think this is an army that I feel, one, you can get into cheaply, which is a big thing because you don't need tons and tons of models. I think as you expand it out, you definitely have to make considerations of what are going to be your anti-tank choices, what are going to be your potential horde clearing choices, and everyone else will handle everything else in the game fine. Everything that's some other armies have to deviate that squads out more. Eldar are famous for this, that this squad has this purpose, this squad has this purpose, and so on.
That's one of the things I was going to say.
Yeah, here you need something that can handle like a horde, something that can handle a tank, and everyone else handles every other problem. They have a high toughness, so they're nice and survivable. They have a good amount of wounds, great save, nice and survivable. They have good melee, decent shooting. They'll get done the jobs that you need. They'll get done whatever job you need them to do, unless it's like a monolith or 20-man hordes. So you need something that handles those sort of things. If you can cover that, I think you can build a strong list no matter what you put in. There are some options that feel a little better than others, but I don't think there's like bad choices. Yeah, the bikes are expensive, but they're not bad. They are good. There's just better things. You could build wherever you want, and I think you're going to feel pretty good unless you go against knights or you go against like Gene Stealers. We know they're near the top, but just like they're sort of recursive spam. Outside of that, I think you're going to feel that you have a pretty good time, especially because you have a 4-up Invul versus Mortals. Or Feel No Pain, I should say. 4-up Feel No Pain versus Mortals. So you're kind of always having saves anyway, so... all right, they are your both bread, butter, main course, dessert, amuse-bouche, your aperitif.
Amuse-bouche, oh god. No, I'm going to hit on that Eldar thing you said. They ironically, because the web way, they fight very much like Eldar. You have specified troops for specified things. Yeah. Right? Your guard are more toolboxy, where they can kind of shoot, kind of melee. But honestly, you have your dedicated, this goes to this goes to that. And you kind of want to balance your army around that. I mean, Dave did say it kind of spammed, Laris and tanks and stuff
You
like
do.
that. But
What I said was
it
fair.
is still, it is fair, but it's still 6 separate units, right?
Of
Which
the same
is
exact
more
thing.
than
No, it's 6 separate. It's 3 copies of 2 units.
Alaris, Custodian Guard, Wardens, Blade Champion, Shield Captain, Tank. 6 separate units, which is more than most tournament lists bring. Most tournament
for
lists
Custodes,
are like 3,
yes.
Yeah. So it's you could absolutely vary this up, and you're not going to hurt unless you take like one of the ones we were kind of met on. But overall, this is a very easy army to get into. Their playstyle is easier than what they were.
Yes.
Still, you can't. They're not invincible. Don't throw them into like what's the stupid Space Marine rule called? Don't throw them in the middle of the board thinking that Oath of the Moment's not going to touch you. It absolutely will. And it's weird because like this army, what I found, and it sounds sucky, so bear with me.
Okay.
Because this is not fluffy at all. This is one of those armies where I'm not caring if someone dies as long as I'm sitting on objectives. That's how I've been playing and slightly winning my games. The only one I've really tabled was the Grey Knight player.
Yeah. But Grey Knights are absolutely near bottom.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Every other game, I haven't come close to tabling my opponents. I just go on an objective and I play not cagey, but careful enough where I'm like, listen, I might lose this unit, but I know that I held this secondary and I held this primary. And that's how you play, because that's what they play. They play to this current edition well because they can do secondaries very well and they can do primaries very well. You might not have an army turn 5, which is what happened against me and Tyler. You might get tabled turn 5, but you'll still be above maybe 14, 15 points because you just even though it sucks that you're losing units every turn, you're playing to the mission, which is what these guys do well. Sadly, like 55% of them, no, 45% of them are locked behind Forgeworld. You can play plastic. You absolutely can play an all-plastic army. Hell, I played an all-plastic army before the Forgeworld shit came out. The rules, I mean. But if you add Forgeworld, I think first you buy the Caladius. It's kind of a given. And then from there, it's kind of whatever you really want. The Contemptors are great. The Telemon is great. Also, that's another one I want to fit in because the Telemon's only $235. That's cheap, actually. Like, you can easily build this army and you can do well with it. Don't be the person that's like, oh, this is invincible. I can, win every game. You're not going to. You do have to play carefully because every person you do lose, like for Christ's sake, my one list has, just give me one hot minute. My one list has the one that I had with I took out Trajan, which will be my next point in a second. But here we are. Shadow Creeper Horde. 1, 2, 3, 5, 5. So that's 13.
Yeah.
Plus 4 is 17. Plus 6 is, what did I say?
23.
23. 2 tanks. So 25 plus 6. 31 models. 31 models in an army. And of those, 29 are infantry. Losing 3 to 4 models is going to absolutely hurt you. But you got to keep it in the back of your head. It's, again, this is the anti-fluff. This is sadly anti-fluffy. Losing them, you got to be like, it sucks, but I'm playing to the objective. I also like, and I was talking about this with Dave before, a lot of the models that used to be auto take are not auto taken. Trajan used to be 100% auto take.
Yes.
You take them or you lose, right? And I don't think there was any list that didn't take Trajan. Now, I'm like, so I was telling Dave, like, okay, Trajan, he's 145, right? 145, I think. He's 145, right? So he's around 20 more points or 25 more points, right? He gives me the ability to ignore modifiers. That's huge. And basically a free fights first, but a shield captain does that, so I'm ignoring that for a second. His big thing is he ignores mods. That's amazing, right? But how many times are you going to ignore mods? Maybe a Catan, demons, maybe. Deathwing, obviously, are the biggest contender. So I was like, do I really need Trajan? I don't think so. So I traded out Trajan for a shield captain. Normally, in previous editions, this would be the stupidest thing anyone could ever say. You're like, oh, you like losing, I guess. But for me, I'm like, I traded Trajan for a shield captain, and I think, what did I do? Oh, I either was going to take 4 more sisters, but instead I just took like enhancements. I took 2 more enhancements. Um, so I took 3 out of the 4 enhancements.
Don't scrape your straw. Think about your auto medium.
I took 3 more enhancements and traded Trajan down for shield captain, and the list still does good. Like, or at least I think it does. I haven't tried it yet, but it's not like, oh, I lost Trajan, I'm going to auto lose. It's like, I'm trading Trajan for something else. It's a different play style now. I like the army, obviously, because I have so many at this point. I like the way they look, because I do kind of like the Auric. The Auric. I didn't paint them gold, but I love the Auric look to them. I love the fluff. I love the fact that they're philosophers as well as warriors. I think it's just a neat army. The problem with them is the same problem you're going to run into them every edition, is that sometimes you roll 4-ups and sometimes you don't. You just can't let it get to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're playing against Eldar, you will either roll 4-ups or you won't.
Yeah, they still fit that role, like I said, I think I said originally, of spoiler type thing, because they do have a very high toughness. They do their objective well. They do what they need to do well. So if you're not a top tier army, this can absolutely be an army that you greatly struggle against. Whereas if you're playing them, if you're not playing against an absolute top tier army, or they're not trying to play top tier with that army, you're honestly probably going to do really well. It's not a guarantee you're going to win, but I think I don't see spots where I would say that they are at the disadvantage.
Yes, I think. Again, shooting armies that are typically not well in the meta, they do poorly against. Right? That's just the stats kind of. Except unless it's like Votan or something. But against Tau, they get shit on by Tau. Now Tau haven't really won. They won that one recent thing, but Tau don't win normally. But if you face off against Tau, you're going to get shit upon. Just because of how Tau play. I think what they gatekeep specifically are melee armies.
Oh, absolutely.
And they do it well. Great. And they are the best gatekeeper against melee armies. And it's ironic because it's not that their melee is great. AP 2/2 damage is great, right? You have like role leaders that reroll wounds and blah, 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 blah. I think where their gatekeep comes in is that they're just high toughness, high wounds, the ability to be -1 to be hit in combat as an army, right? For one of your stances. And your strike first just to cut down some models. So they gatekeep melee armies. Again, shooting armies, you got to hope the board plays to your favor. Like against Necrons. Necrons, oh, you're high toughness? I don't care. I lethal hits on what? 6s? No, that's not what it was.
It depends on the units. If they have the right crypt tech 5s. Mm-hmm. With and again, that might be an army that has decent counters versus this. So I think, if you go Custodes, you're never going to feel that you're in a bad spot. No. You'll feel better in certain spots, but I don't think you're ever going to feel that you're in bad shape.
Like I said, it's one of those armies where it's like, if you get tabled on turn 5, look at the points. Yeah. Play to your points. Because I'm telling you, I've already been tabled twice with the Custodians. Never been tabled with the demons. Ever. Haven't even come close. I've been tabled twice with the Custodians already. And I still won the game. Yeah. Not by much, by about 10, 15 points. So close enough, but still tabled. So you got to realize that you might get tabled as Custodians, and that might feel bad, but the end result is that you stole away the primary and secondary.
Yeah.
And that's just because honestly, I've just played them for so goddamn long. So I kind of know how to play the army to its strengths. But as a newer player, tips and tricks, don't be afraid to lose your stuff. Play to the points. Because getting those 2 to 8 points early lead, you can't get them when you're tabled. So get that early lead early and kind of hold on to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that will do it for us tonight. As always, we want to thank everyone who does listen. Like I said, we put this on any podcatcher that you get. We also have all this up on YouTube as well as some other things. For things to expect otherwise from us this week, on Wednesday, I'm going and recording a battle report / more of like a learn to play using the Leviathan box. Where I'm playing against Ernest. He's using the Tyranid side. I'm doing the Space Marine side.
Ernest.
What? Yeah.
No, Ernest, yeah.
Yeah.
I
We're
didn't know he
playing
was
Wednesday.
playing the.
Yeah,
I didn't know
probably
it's-
noonish or 12:30 or something like that we're going to do. I'm not taking all the Space Marines though because we want to make it a little bit more balanced between the sides, but we're going to essentially go through that and try to do it more of as a playing the game but explaining as we go, especially for anyone who might be a little bit newer to this or newer in general. We're also then afterwards going to do a kill team game. So
I might pop up Thursday then. I've been
sorry,
wanting to
Wednesday.
play-
We're doing this Wednesday.
God damn it!
Why are you not around Wednesday?
Hold on.
Yeah, because I know he couldn't do
Because
Thursday.
I was going to play with him on Friday, but it was too late, and they actually closed down the store.
Oh, okay.
So I told him I would play next Friday, but John's coming next Friday to play BattleTech, a bunch of
Yes.
BattleTech. So
To get in there early.
BattleTech Fridays. But Wednesday it looks like library event from 1 to 2 p.m. God damn it.
Just well, I could always do afterwards. We'll still be there.
Well, true, and she naps after that, so I can go during her nap time.
Yeah,
but I wanted to try. I tried my demons during Kill Team, and actually I enjoyed. It was kind of monotonous because I only have the blood demons, and it's like, oh, melee. So I wanted to take my Custodes because you can do 2 and 2 Custodes, which I'm not going to do. 1 because it's unfluffy, and 2 because you'll out activate me by a factor of like 6. So I was going to do like 2 Custodes. Yeah, it's 2 and 2. So most kill teams have 6 minimum. So you'll have 6 and 6. So when I say
the ones I was looking at was 5s. A lot of them were 5s. Yeah.
Even Space Marines are check the FAQs, Dave, because I'm not sure if the FAQs, not the FAQs, what are they called? Erratas. Check the erratas for kill team only because they change the kill team sizes all the time.
Okay, I'll take a look at all that.
Yeah, take a look at that because they might have changed. But anyway, I do want to do like 2 Custodians and like 5 Sisters because that's really fluffy and cool.
Okay.
But anyway, I didn't know. I'll see if I can make it Wednesday. I will absolutely see if I can make it.
So by the time we actually start recording, it's probably going to be 1. It's probably going to take an hour or so for the 40K game, and then after we'll be doing kill team. So if you make it, I said we can just do that afterwards. That's fine. We'll be there.
Sounds good. That's exciting for me.
Yep. So content-wise, we know we have that. That should be out. At least one of them will be out probably later this week. The other one might be the following week. We have that. I don't know what else we're recording otherwise this week. Are we trying to do Votan? I know Gavin said like maybe Saturday. Maybe we try
Saturday.
So we could try Saturday night.
We could try Saturday. I'll bring it up to him.
Yeah.
I would not mind recording Saturday for Votan.
Yeah. So we do that.
Again, I'm really curious. I think it's honestly because they're points. I'm going to predict, little prediction here. I think they're a good army. I think it's literally because they cost so damn much. Because I was looking at their army, and I'm like, these are pretty damn good profiles. And then I looked at their points, and I'm like, why? Yeah. Why does this cost this much? Yeah. It makes no sense.
Okay, so we're hopefully going to get that out. As for a different recording, not sure. We have to see if we plan that for Saturday. We might do something different, or who knows what. We also have to see if Steve's around because then we can talk some 30K stuff, or maybe we just do maybe not do it this week. Maybe one of the other weeks we just do another painting live or something like that to just have a random discussion, kind of catch up on other things that we've been doing.
Some of the news that came out. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yes. I know I'm not around. Normally we've done that on Thursday in the past. I know I'm not around this Thursday. I should be doing some board game stuff. Nice. Actually, most of my nights are somewhat, or some of my times are somewhat full this week, but we'll see about all that. All right, I think that is it for everything we currently have going on, everything that's out. So, on behalf of everyone here at the show, then, have some good hobbying and some great gaming.